I don't like I don't like these stories. I don't like talking about them. I don't like when they happen because they're tragedies and they remind you that you could drop dead at any moment. And let me just get back. You could drop dead at any moment, and then all your plans for life and everything you've ever had planned for yourself, for your friends, for your family, that's it. That was your time on Earth. Toronto doctor dies while out running. Dr. Paul Hannum, Chief of Emergency Medicine and Program Director at North York General Hospital, passed away on July 17. The running and medical communities of Toronto lost a valued friend and colleague Saturday. Dr. Paul Hannum, the Chief of Emergency Medicine and Program Director at North York General Hospital, died suddenly during a run, CTV News reported. An accomplished athlete, yada, yada, yada. So this is politics, all contemporary issues aside, it's an absolute tragedy. It's an absolute tragedy. Almost, I would say, incomprehensible, but once, people spontaneously have heart attacks, especially if heart condition runs in your family and you don't know about it. And ironically enough, sometimes overexertion, overexercise can be triggers to these things, even in healthy people. My father says, running 6 miles is good. Running 60 miles consistently, not so good. Being muscular, good. Being too muscular, not good. So like the golden rule, the golden mean. But we're living through an era now where we're seeing a lot of this. And I'm not saying this to weaponize or politicize natural cause deaths, premature natural cause deaths. I'm not. We're seeing a lot of this and more of this, so much so now that there's articles being printed warning people about something called SADS, Sudden Adult Death Syndrome, which now apparently is now such a big problem that the news articles, or the news article in particular, is imploring people to go have their hearts checked because of SADS. I'm going to pull it up just because you may not believe this. SADS, heart check, implore. Let me see. There was an article. It says SADS. Hold on. I'll find it. Young people get heart checked. I forget where it was. Oh, here. A doctor's urge from Lad Bible. Doctors urge young people to get heart checked. I've been alive for a long time. I've never heard of this before certain things. Doctors urging young people to get heart checked in bid to tackle unexpected deaths. Oh, I'm sorry. So, by the way, I'm the asshole for questioning why this doctor may have spontaneously dropped dead while running, but the Lad Bible gets to say doctors urge young people to get their hearts checked in bid to tackle unexpected deaths. This isn't the article that I was thinking of. It was another one, but this is along the same vein. A doctor is urging people under 40 to get their hearts checked if they are related to someone who had an unexplained death. First of all, I'm old enough to have been brought up when I applied for life insurance. Do you have a history of heart condition in your family? These are always questions that were asked. And in our family, I don't know that we might. My grandfather, one of my grandfathers passed away at 53 from a heart attack, and the other one passed away at 72 from a heart attack, or 70. Whether or not that qualifies as heart condition, I exercise nonetheless, and I try to lead a healthy lifestyle. But when you apply for insurance, they ask these questions, and then maybe they gauge your insurance premium accordingly. I've been alive long enough to know that this is the first time in my life that I've ever heard of doctors urging people under 40 to get their hearts checked because of, what do they say? To tackle unexpected deaths. It is hoped that checks may pick up on a sign that patients may be at risk for sudden adult death syndrome. SADS is an umbrella term, yeah. That's used to describe unexpected death in young people. The term is used when post-mortem cannot determine an obvious cause of death, and accordingly, the Royal Australian College of General Practitioners, it most commonly occurs in people under the age of 40. And then they talk about the statistics. Let me see. There was an issue about whether or not it's on the increase, but we've seen an increase in unexplained deaths. Overall deaths coming out of New Brunswick. I've been alive long enough to know that This has not always been what the doctors have been telling the public, urging people under 40 to get their hearts checked to tackle unexpected deaths. So this doctor passes away and people have questions, obvious questions. And I'll just pull up one of them, which I believe came from my brother. It did. Here, my brother, Lion Advocacy. The public may be assuaged with an autopsy. My brother is so much more polite than I have become now. The public may be assuaged with an autopsy or a coroner's inquest. Do you know if that is being undertaken? We are all mourning this terrible loss. First of all, we are. And it's an uncomfortable situation to be in when you're trying to determine a cause of death where, broader issues might be at play. My brother says the public may be assuaged with an autopsy or a coroner's inquest. Do you know if that is being undertaken? We are all mourning this terrible loss. To which he says, this other doctor who made the announcement, he was not a public figure. His family deserves some privacy and respect. To which I said, and I feel like a bit of an asshole sometimes. I'll tell you. I'll be honest. I'm not always honest, but I'll be blunt with myself. I feel bad. I feel like a jerk because someone has to ask this question and someone has to raise these issues. Excuse me, Howard Ovens. Dr. Hannum used his Twitter account and public profile as a doctor to tell other people to get vaccinated. The public now deserves answers. And this is a tweet. Hannum retweeting people, telling people what to do. Broad swaths of medical advice via social media. And it's not, everyone is going to say, look, I'm very, very self-reflective. When you're looking for a golf ball, as my father always says, when you're looking for a golf ball, anything that's white, you will confuse as a golf ball. I mangled that. And I blame the headphones, by the way. When you're looking for a golf ball in the woods, which is where my balls typically end up, my golf balls end up. Okay. And you're automatically attracted to anything that looks white. I appreciate we're living through an era where any unexpected death, people are going to reflexively, almost like the Hillary Clinton meme, like pull up the tweet. This person had dirt on Hillary Clinton that was going to get her arrested. And then, when they die, I appreciate that. That being said, we are now living through an era where there has been this massive campaign and this massive 3 years and articles talking about an increase in unexpected deaths to the point where they are urging people under 40 to get their hearts checked. This doctor, otherwise healthy, seemingly promoting policy that it's conceivable. Now that we know from Dr. Kieran Moore from Ontario, 1 in 5,000 will suffer an issue, it's conceivable. And can you imagine that people are saying, you can't ask this question? Imagine for 1 second that by asking these questions, and if the doctors and the medical community tackles the question and the issue appropriately, you could actually save lives. Imagine that. But because we're too shy and we're too politically correct, and you can't question anything anymore because it's mean and it's uncouth, people will actually other people will suffer a fate that could potentially be avoided if we can actually identify a cause. Imagine that. Imagine that coming from the medical community. This man, and he's a public figure. The family deserves to mourn as every family does. And I'm not going to say that because they weaponize the vocal anti-COVID people's deaths to say, look, they should have just shut up and taken the vax, which they do. There are tactful ways of actually addressing this in a meaningful sense when quite literally people's lives and health are on the line. So simultaneously, the news is saying, urging people under 40, get your hearts checked because of sudden adult death syndrome, but don't ask questions when an adult dies suddenly. And someone in response to that tweet said, real classy, Viva, digging up a tweet that's a year old to make a political point. I said, first of all, don't mistaken tragic with classy. And someone else rightly pointed out, and totally accurate. These are not irrelevant issues. First of all, someone who's not a public figure or not using social media platforms to tell other people what to do, different story. Someone goes around telling people not to get a certain medical procedure and then something, you know it's coming. It's just a question of whether or not the story is going to be dealt with in a tactful manner. But this individual is in the medical community promoting a medical procedure at an era now when we are seeing these articles, New Brunswick showing a excess death rate substantially higher than the year before. Lad Bible saying everyone under 40, urging them to get their hearts checked to tackle unexpected deaths. This now something it might have existed for 20 years. I don't care that SADS might have existed for 20 years. The fact that it's such a pressing issue now, there's articles being run up. But don't ask questions, Viva. Don't be unclassy. So I have anecdotal evidence, anecdotal stories of people on the inside, which I don't share because you can't vet them. I would never put anyone on the spot to have to come out and confirm that or talk about it. We're all seeing it. So this doctor drops dead while running, working in the medical field. So we know that he presumably had to have done many things, openly promoting this medical procedure. And we can't ask questions, even if answering those questions could actually save lives. This is science. This is medicine in 2022. All right. Well, that's that. SADS has been around for a long time. In 2011, there were more than 60,000 people under 40 who died from SADS in the UK. I don't know about that stat from 2011. I'm not denying it or calling you any inaccurate. I know SADS has been around for a long time. I would like to see statistics on SADS over time. Because I'll tell you this, Robin, I'm a neurotic hypochondriac. I've heard of SIDS. I know about heart conditions. I know about, I had never heard of SADS as a concept until now. And I'll bet you dollars to donuts it hasn't been in the news as much in the past as it is now. I'll bet you.